Hey guys, Pankaj here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to talk about pandas part 3. So those who are watching this video first time, I would suggest please was part 1 and part 2. Okay, then come back to this video because all the basics and couple of very heavily used functions I have already explained in the previous video. Okay, so let's see what and all I'm going to cover today. I'll share my screen. Yeah. So just to recap, we saw Panda series and data frame and a lot of common functionality, which is very heavily used. We have already covered in part 1 and part 2. Okay, and descriptive statistics also we saw in the previous video. In today's video, we'll see how to use a couple of other functionality, which is also very heavily used in data analysis. Okay, so I have already imported pandas library and NumPy. Okay, so import NumPy as NP and import pandas as PD. So let me run once again. Okay, let's go back to the section. Okay, so I'm going to start with info function. What exactly does this is very useful function, because whenever you are getting large data set, as a quick glance, you can have a look like what exactly the data is. Okay, so let me create some random data. So np dot random dot random between 1 to let's say 30. I want, let's say 20. I want 30 values. Reshape them between 5 to 6. Okay, or 6 rows, 5 columns. Okay, let's create data frame. PD dot data frame from A, columns equal to list. Yeah, so this is my data frame. Now if you remember, I showed one function called describe, right? So what exactly describe does? Let me just run it and I'll explain once again. Okay, so basically it gives me a couple of summary of the whole data, right? So all the columns will be there, and for each column, what is the number which is coming more number of times, right? So total number of basically the element. So total count is 6, which is common across all the columns. Total 6 elements is there in each column. Okay, what is the overall mean value of each column? What is their standard deviation? What is the minimum of each column? 25%, 50%, and 75%. That is interquartile range. And what is the max value? Okay. Okay, so let's see what exactly this info does. So df dot info, if you do, okay. So if you have a look here, right? So what exactly does it belongs to pandas class, okay, which is data frame. And what is the range index? So index is ranging from 0 to 5. Okay, total 6 entries. And data column, so total 5 columns, and each column it will describe like what is what is their index header, what is their column header, and what are their values types. So total 6 non-null values are there. Okay, so basically there's no NaN. If you guys remember, I told, right, NaN is what? Not a number. So if you talk about Excel sheet, there are a couple of cells which is empty, right? So in data frame, it will treat empty cells as NaN. That is not a number. Okay, so you see exactly 6 values are there. There's no such entries which is empty or which is null. Okay, and what is their data type? So each belongs to integer 64 class. Okay, so total integer 64, that is 5 column. Okay, and what is memory? This is very important, guys. Memory information. Okay, so when you deal with very large data set, this is going to be very helpful. So why I'm telling this, because when you get, let's say, 1 GB of data which is in Excel sheet, right, and later once you start analyzing the data, you will find out like all of 1 GB data which is not at all required, right? So unnecessary, it is consuming 1 GB of memory. So how you can reduce the data? So that's where this data type will help you. So let's say I have a range of values between 1 to 255, right? So do we really need integer 64 data type for each value? Of course no, right? So you can reformat or do the typecasting from integer 64 to integer 8, and significant reduction of memory you will see. Okay, so you guys should be very much familiar with this function, and I'm going to show this under case study also. Okay, then you'll see how we can reduce the memory size from 1 GB to, let's say, 200 MB, and do further analysis on data. Okay, so that is about info function. So let's see dropping column rows and what is the reason behind why to drop column and why to drop rows. So let me talk the history behind this, or maybe theory behind this, why exactly we need to drop. So again, when I talk about this, right, I always consider very large data. Okay, so let's say you have very large data and there, let's say, thousands of columns are there. So do we really need those 1,000 columns or not? Okay, that is the first question. So this will I will be covering under exploratory data analysis part. Okay, so if you don't need data, then you are going to drop those columns. So what is the reason behind dropping them? Again, a lot of theories are there, so which I'll be talking more in the EDA part. Okay, and that is one reason, to save the number of features. So column is basically considered as feature. So let's say your name, age, gender, and all those things, right? So each column is nothing but a feature. So do we really need name column? No. Okay, because maybe I don't care about the name. I just care about the data for each particular user. Okay, so I'm going to drop the name column. Okay, now let's say you have some column where a lot of entries have been left empty. Okay, so if you guys remember, or maybe you would have already participated some of the survey in the online program, right? So in survey, you may not disclose your gender, you may not disclose your name, you may not disclose your salary, right? So what happened to those data, or what happened to those entries? Basically, that will be recorded as an empty data. Okay, so that's where, let's say, user is not at all filling all the data. Then once you get the raw data from the your customers, what will happen? You'll see a lot of data which is not at all filled and which is shown as entry. Okay, so let's say out of 1 million row, let's say 50 million rows are empty. So do we really need to care about that particular data? No, right? Maybe I'll just go ahead and drop those particular row, or drop that particular column where more number of entries which is empty. Okay, so these are the theory behind this, and due to that reason we are going to drop them. So let me just create one data frame here. We already have data frame. So what I will do, I'm just going to insert or inject some NaN values. Okay, so how to insert those values, I've already told you. Let's talk about row 1 B column equal to np dot NaN. Okay, row 5, and let's say row E np dot NaN. Let's have one more, or maybe row 2. Okay, right? Okay, so what happened? My bad. So I'm going to going ahead with label based, right? So I need to use LOC, and that I forgot to mention. Dot LOC. If you don't mention, it is going to be treated as what is it? Separate column. Okay. So I'm just going to remove this first, or I'll run this once again. Okay, now let's try. Okay, so I have a couple of column entries that is having NaN values, right? So that's how we replace the values also, right? So this is one. Okay, so this is my data frame where a couple of columns are there where NaN has been inserted. So now let's say you want to replace the data. How you replace? So we have like one is like df dot replace, and here we have a couple of ways to replace, like which value you want to replace and by what value you want to replace. Okay, so you can go ahead with these parameter also, or you can give the dictionary format. Okay, so I want to replace np dot NaN with, let's say, since it is not a number, right? So let's have some very low negative values, so that user will get to know this value doesn't make any sense. Okay, then after that you press. What happened? Sorry, which value you want to replace and by what value you want to replace. That is one way to do that. Okay, so remember guys, this is always going to return the copy of it. Okay, so original data will not get modified. That's why you are seeing a separate data. Okay, so this is internally making copy of df and then replacing and putting in the value. So if you want to modify original data frame itself, so right now my original data frame is intact. It is not at all changed. You see here, I still see NN. So one way to do that, we have something called, let me just add df dot replace. We have something called in place. Just make it true. So I think this I have already talked in previous video also. Most of the function will have in place equal to true or false. Okay. So when you are sure you are going to modify original data itself, then you use this value. Okay. I'm not going to run it, otherwise I lose the data. Okay. So this is to replace all the values. So you can replace the whole data set by using this method. Okay. So same way. Okay, so for column or feature wise, so here let's see how we can do that. So let's say instead of replacing over all the places, right? I want, or I am interested only in the column B. So what you can do, df dot b dot replace. Then I want to replace np dot nan. Let's go with different way. Okay, so I have already shown what value to replace and with what value you want to replace. So I'm going with this mapping. Okay, so wherever I'm having np and nan, replace with, let's say, minus 20,000. Okay, and wherever you have something else, so let's say I have some other value also, right? I am having, let's say, test. It could be some integer value, sorry, string value also, right? I want to replace them with minus 10,000. Okay, then see the value. Okay, so whichever is meeting the criteria, right? Test is not there, but we have NN, right? So NN is going to replace by 20,000. Okay, that's how you replace in the column wise. Okay, if you see here, same kind of things are mentioned. Okay, next we'll see regular expression also. So for regular expression, let me insert some of the strings. So df dot loc, and let's say I'm going to have, okay, I'm going to insert some column. Okay, let's say there is another column called f, and its value is PyCSR. Okay, and there is one more column called z PyCSR2. Now let's talk about df. Okay, so we have two columns, and assume that this could be similar entries, like similar string entries are there, maybe single as a single element in any of the column, right? But I just, to make it more simple, I am just adding into a different column. Okay, so how you can use regular expression to replace one particular string in the whole column data set. So we have df dot replace. So I want to replace, let's say, PyCSR. Okay, so we have two kind of PyCSR. One is PyCSR, one is with some number, right? PyCSR2. So now here we have something called regex equal to true. So by default it is false. So once you make true, right, you can write exactly a pattern here. Okay, so let me just show you what exactly it does. So I'm going to replace PyCSR with, I did not give any value, right? To, let's say, minus 99. See what is happening here. So wherever I see PyCSR, everything is getting replaced. Even though I have PyCSR2, that is also getting replaced. Okay, so in this case, what you can do, you can write exact pattern. I want to have only that particular string which is ending with, let's say, some number. Okay, so let's say it could be not just PyCSR, it could be any string. So my pattern goes like this. I can have any word character, including number, and I want to make sure that the string which is present in the data frame, it is ending with some number, right? Just single digit. Okay, so only that particular pattern I'm going to replace with minus 999. Now see the magic. See here. So plus w, w plus is nothing but all the word characters. So PYCSR, and I'm making it mandatory, like it must end with $D. Sorry, D, that is digit. Okay, and it digit can be anywhere, right? It start or end. So let's make it more specific to end. It must end with D, that is digit. Then only it should replace. Okay, so when you make regex true, then only this pattern is going to work. Okay, that's how you replace the values in the data frame. Okay, let's do some reindexing. So reindexing is nothing but basically whatever index labels you have, that is going to be changed or not. Okay, so I'm going to have two data frame here. So let's say df1 equal to let's say 10 values, 5 rows, 2 columns. Okay, and here I can give columns equal to let's say cd. df1 df2. Let's remove this. Okay, so this is my df1 df2. Now you want to do reindexing, right? So let's see how you can use it. So pt dot reindex or df1 dot reindex. So I can have label, right? So instead of having 0 1 2 3 4, I want to have index labels as, let's say, range 100 to 105. Let's see it works or not. Okay. 100, 102. Oh, it is not taking. So reindex level column access. Okay, let me just try that. So df let's see one example here, what how they are doing it. Okay, so this is this one, and so reindex new index, right? It could have taken. Okay, new index. Okay, that's fine. Maybe I'll pick up this example, then I'll show. Okay, so here is index data frame. Okay, let's see what is example now. df dot reindex. Okay, new index. Okay, so see here, you just randomly give the number, right? Whatever index row headers are there. Okay, so earlier it was Firefox, Chrome, Safari, i10, and Conquer, right? Here I just gave new values, right? So whichever is coming, you see here Safari was there, yes, so it has taken ice ice vessel. This was not there, right? So that's why you see this is something new row index has come, right? So it will take the name, but entries will be NaN because there's no such index which is already existing in the data frame. Okay, Komodo dragon, is it there? No, so that's why you see not a number. I10 is there, so it has taken 404 and Chrome. Okay, so that's how reindexing works. Okay, so I can take one more example just to make you understand. Let's say I give here, okay, and maybe it's not like you have to always give at the end. I can give at the beginning also, right? So if Opera is not existing, it is going to add the labels, but values will be NaN. Okay, that's how reindexing works. Okay, so let's see how to do use of fill NA, that is fill not a number. Okay, so wherever you see NA, what value you can fill in. Okay, so I'll take take my older data frame, that is this. Okay, I need to create once again. Okay, I think I lost it. Let me create once again. Okay, so A equal to P dot random dot int 1 to 20, then 20 values. We say 5 by 4. df equal to pd dot data frame e columns equal to okay. Now let's add some missing values here. So df dot loc, then let's say 0th column, then d equal to np dot nan, some more. So let's say third row and C column. Okay, so this is my data frame. So I want to replace NaN with some value, right? So we have direct function called df dot fill NA. You see here what value you want to fill. So wherever it is going to find NaN, it is going to replace with some value. So I want to fill them with minus, let's say 9,000. Okay, you see here it automatically got replaced. Okay, so what happened basically, as I mentioned, in Excel sheet you will have a lot of cells which is empty, right? So to treat an empty value, NaN will automatically get filled by data frame, or you are free to use any value. Okay, there are some situations where, let's say, you have exactly 1,000 entries and out of 1,999 values are there. Okay, but because of one value you don't want to drop that particular row or column, right? So you will infer the value, what exactly value can we put there. So mostly people go with some statistical reference. Okay, so let's say whatever value is coming very frequently, I want to put that value and fill the NA. Okay, I want to take overall mean value or median value and fill with the and fill in place of NaN. Okay, so that is this. And now what we can do, so I want to replace, let's say, C column with mean of this. So how we can do that? Df dot C dot fill NA, df dot C dot mean. I have already shown you how to use this function, right? Mean, another statistical function. See here, so column C is replaced with mean value of 8, 3, 4, and 2. Okay, so wherever NaN is there in C, it will be replaced with the mean value of overall values. Okay, similarly, you can put, let's say, median. Okay, so whichever value you want to fill, you can use that function. I want to fill standard deviation with that value. It's just example. You will not be using exactly standard deviation, but you are free to apply any function. Okay. So that's how you do. And don't worry, I'm going to use this again with the case study also and with some projects. Checking missing values using various methods. Okay, so I'm going to use same data here. So believe me guys, this is also very important function, and you cannot get just rid of this particular functionality. Okay, so whenever you get data, this is, I think, first or maybe third or fourth step, you are going to use this particular functionality. So I have millions of rows and columns. I want to validate, like, or I want to quick check or have quick glance how many empty values are there, or how many NaN values are there in each and every feature, that is each and every column. Okay, so the best way is use null function, is null. So is null basically tell, do we have null values in the data frame? Df dot is, so what it will do, it is just going to iterate over each and every column, find out which is NaN and put boolean true. Okay, so you see here, these are not enough, so everything is false. And wherever true is there, only that particular value will be true. Wherever NaN is there, that will become true. And similarly in D first value, that is true. Okay, so get that. Now the good thing is, since it is putting boolean true and false, right, you can easily get sum of those values. So boolean false is 0, boolean true is 1. So now I can get total count of those NaN. So df dot is null, and I'm just going to apply sum. See how easy it is. So in column A and B, I have 0 NaN, column C, I have 1 NaN, and column D, I have 1 NaN. Okay, so this is going to be very helpful. Similarly, we have is not null. So df dot, actually it is not is, it is not null. Okay, so it is just going to put how many true, how many values are there which is not null, right? So accordingly it will put true, and wherever a null value or NaN is there, it is going to put false. So to get how many such values are there, just apply some function. So total 5 entries, and C and D you are having 4 entries because of 1 NaN. Okay. Similarly, we have is NA function. So df dot is NA. It is exactly same as is null. Okay, so wherever NaN is there, it is just going to put true. Rest will be false. And later you apply sum. Okay, so this output and this output is same. So it is up to you which one you want. Mostly I go with is null. That should be good enough. Okay, so using some values. Yeah, I think this was part of your fill NA. Okay, and using statistical inference, this was, I think I already shown you here. Taking standard deviation or whatever you want to have, right? That is here. Okay, so let's see the next one. Now we have something called typecasting. Okay, so this is also very important. Why? Because let's say you have an Excel sheet, right? And Excel is in one of the column, all integer values are there. So visually it looks like integer, but internally user who has filled the value, right, they might have used string type. Okay, so there are a couple of data formatting or cell formatting in Excel. Due to that, it has become string, which is very challenging. By like human eye, you cannot interpret it as integer or string. By looking at the value, it will definitely look as integer, but internally it is stored as string. Okay, so when you do analysis using pandas, it is going to return the value as object type. Okay, so let's see how to handle that value. Okay, so we have df. Okay, so as I mentioned, if string is always high priority, right? If I convert any one of the value as string type, everything is going to be typecasted as string type. Okay, so I'm just going to convert one value as string type so that I can show the example. So 0th row and column A. Okay, first I'll show the data type. Df dot a dot D type. It is integer 64. I'm going to replace the value as, let's say, 10. Okay, so now you take df. See here, do you make any difference here? It exactly looks like integer only, but the moment you take the data type, see here, it is showing object type, means it belongs to integer. Sorry, it belongs to string type, not an integer type. Okay, so that's where problem comes. So when things looks like integer or float or exactly a number, it is not a number, it is basically a string. Okay, and since it is a string, you cannot apply any of the mathematical operation over those numbers. So what you have to do, you need to do as type. Okay, so what I can do, df dot a, I'm going to replace with df dot a dot as type. What kind of type I want? I want them to be as integer 8. Okay, and after that I'll check df dot a. Okay, how you see, now it has become integer 8. Okay, so that's how you apply or you use as type functions of pandas data frame to do any typecasting. Okay, so this is very important because, as I mentioned, right, once though it looks like integer type, but it is not integer. Okay, so since it is string type, you cannot apply any mathematical function. Let's say I want summation of all the values. Will it work? df dot a dot sum. See here, this is the error I'm getting. Okay, so I'll just comment it so that you guys can try. Now after doing as type, let's have a look whether it is taking sum or not. Great. Okay, so that's about as type. Let's see how to iterate over data frame. So for iterating over data frame, we have three functions: iter items, iter rows, iter tuples. Okay, so items are nothing but your row and column combination. So let's have a look. Df, this is my df. So what I can do, df dot iter items, what it gives. So it returns what? Column name and series, right? So basically column header name and series, it will be returning. Okay, that is what your item. So I can get column name as series. I can just give the sort name for column name and series in data frame. Let's print C, what it is. So it is the column name, correct? Now what is my S? It is the series. So if I'm going to print all column name as well as series, it is going to return everything. So in column A, I have these values along with their row header. In column B, I have these values along with their header. Okay, so I think I'll just put in a nicer way. For A, this is a value. For B, this is a value, like that. Okay, that is what iter items does. Now let's talk about iter rows, what it does. So whichever way you want, I think based on the need, you can use iter rows, iter items, or iter tuples. So df dot iter rows, what it does, it is returning index and series. So iter item was over column and their respective values, and iter rows will be, of course, as the name suggests, it is going to take the each row. Okay, so for row and their column name, that is nothing but index, and their row, in this print index, that is a 0 1 2 3, and print r, that is our each value of the row for given column. Okay, and similarly, if you want to print index row. Okay, so for 0th row, I have these values for each column. For first row, I have these value for each column, and so on. Now let's see what tuple does. df dot iter tuples. So what it return? Iterate over data frame rows or name tuple. Okay, so it is going to iterate over each row. For r in this, print r, you see here. So each row is nothing but your column header, right? Row header, that is index 0 1 2 3 4, and for each row it is going to return individual element, that is column A is 10, column B is 1, at per1 particular index, that is 0th row or first row. Okay, so whichever way you like, I think you can use based on the need. Okay, guys. So yeah, that's about this. Now let's see how to apply sorting, joining, and merging over data frame. Okay, so first we'll see sort. So I'm going to create one particular data frame here. So A equal to random dot randin, then let's say between 1, 2, or -1, or minus, let's say 5 to 20. I want to have, let's have a small one. Okay, 5 rows, 2 columns. So 10 values dot reshape, 5 rows, 2 columns. df equal to pd dot data frame, columns equal to a. Okay, so basically sorting will work on row or column values. Okay, so let's do that. Sort row and column labels. So first we'll sort by labels. So label here means A, B, and 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm not sorting for values. So how you can do that sorting? So let's say df dot sort index. Sort index, that is the function we have. So it needs access, right? So take a look at what it does. So it provides access. So which access? So if you want to access row, then it will be this one, access 0, and column, that is access 1. Then what label you want? So label right now we don't need because we have just 2 dimension. And ascending, whether it should be in ascending order or descending order. Okay, in place means original one you want to modify or not. So we will make it false only. Then what kind of sort? So by default, let it be quick sort. Okay, whether you want to ignore index or not, those things you can use. So let's go with the default value first. So df dot sort index. Okay, so which one it is taking? By default, x is 0. Okay, now if I make ascending equal to true, so by default it is true. Now if I make it false, what happens? You see here. So by default it is saying row index and it is sorting by descending order now. Okay, similarly, let's say you want to apply this over column, right? So you can just make access equal to 1. Okay, so you see here by column level it is going to sort. So in ascending it will be A and B, and descending it will be B and A. Okay, that's how you sort over labels of row or labels of column. Now how to sort over row and column values? So again, I'm to take same data frame. So we have df dot sort values. Okay, so sort index was like either row index or column index. Sort values by based on the axis. Okay, so if you don't give anything, what it is happening? See here, sort value missing one required argument by. So by what you want to sort? So I want to sort by A. So you see here it is already sorted by ascending order. So it will take the column A, and whatever values are there, it will be sorting in the ascending order. Now I want to sort them by descending order. So what you can do? Ascending equal to false. So topmost value will come first. Okay, and when you are sorting over A, by default, automatically whatever mapping is there, right? So like 3 belongs to this particular row, right? So it will be sorted accordingly. Okay, so column B value will also get changed. You see here, it's all jumbled because the highest value is 17. Okay, guys, that's how you apply sorting over rows and column. So similarly, if you want row wise, so I can do access equal to, oh, sorry, by column 0. Okay, so it is not taking, right? Why? Because x is already, it is taken as column wise. Now I have to make it row wise. So x is equal to 0, 1. Okay, so if you see here, row 0, that is 7 and 3, ascending equal to false. Okay, so similarly you can apply your ascending equal to true. So now 3 is lower and 7 is higher. Okay. So I hope you understand. I think you guys just play around different values and follow these, parameters. This is very important. That's how, if you play more, then you'll understand better, like how exactly sorting works over row and column header and um, row values and column values. Okay. So now let's see how to merge two data frame also. So why this merging is required? Because let's say you have data set which is spread across multiple data sets, right? So you want to combine them all together and make one single data frame. That's where your merge will come into picture. Okay. So I think let's see tomorrow or maybe in the next video, because I think it is too much for today. I'll be explaining this again with proper picture so that you can easily understand how merging is. Very simple concept, but the only thing is you have to understand, like those who know set theory, right, they will be easily grabbing it. Or those who know SQL, like inner join, outer join, and left join, right join, cross join. So if you understand that concept, then you can easily understand merge, joining, and concatenation also. Okay, so let's wait for next video for understanding merging and joining. So that's all for today, guys. I hope you are understanding all the concept properly and you are trying it in your notebook as well in parallel. So those who are not understanding, please leave out the comment in my Telegram channel or in the comment box in the video. I'll definitely help you guys. Okay, thanks a lot, guys. And those who have not yet subscribed, please do subscribe my channel and spread the love. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.